Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Go and welcome to Industry Insider with Dassault Systems. Now let me ask you this, what makes you keep going back to your favorite shop or restaurant? The selection, the service, loyalty, the convenience of doing it both in-store and online perhaps? Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has made many of us realize, for one, that shopping online is so much more convenient than being in-store, and to a certain extent, safer too from any virus exposure. According to a Facebook for Business report, essential shopping has shifted online big time, and we're talking about groceries. And of the people who moved to online grocery shopping, a whopping 83% say they will continue this habit in the new normal. So how do you make sure that your customers are getting the same experience in-store and online while maintaining a smooth operation as possible within your operation? What is the secret sauce to delight your customers to keep them coming back for more? Through data-driven insights. On today's episode, we will delve deeper into how your company can delight your customers using data-driven insights. And joining me for this wide-ranging discussion today are representatives from Dassault Systems. And in the studio with me is Ken Chu-Tan, CPG, that is
Consumer Packaged Goods.
Consumer Packaged Goods for Retail Industry Business Consultant at Dassault Systems. And joining us from Melbourne is Peter Ristevski, Industry Process Consultant, Infrastructure at Dassault Systems Asia Pacific South. Now, before we get into how businesses can use data-driven insights, let's talk about the current situation first and what customers are doing or how their behavior is evolving. So Ken, how has the pandemic fundamentally changed consumer behavior, consumer shopping behavior to be exact?
What we have seen over the past year, Tim, is there was a tectonic shift in terms of behavior shopping moving into online. And this trend, in my view, is not going to go back. It's going to sustain because it's a win-win arrangement for both retailers and consumers. Now, within the online shopping trend, if I look at macro global basis, one topic that pops up off the top of my head would be the topic health and wellness. In consumer, just about anywhere in the world, there's the heightened awareness of eating healthier food, buying products to sustain their physical fitness. So I'm talking about home meal replacements. You're talking about, maybe frozen pizza is not a good idea, but that sort of product which you can pop in the oven easily.
Like ready to eat sort of food.
Exactly, ready to eat sort of food. And the other category in terms of fitness would be things like Peloton bikes, for example. So there's a surge in sales in those domains. Now, at the micro level, I want to go down different countries. Then you do have different products that may sell better than others. So those are the micro view.
So in our part of the world, how does that differentiate? What sort of products were you seeing that were more popular?
There's in terms of Korean food, apparently, there's a big search about ginseng chicken that comes packed in with the rice and the soup. It can pop in the oven, it's out in 2 or 3 minutes, that sort of thing. So definitely search in that type of product category versus, let's say, Western world.
Interestingly, I was doing a report earlier during the lockdown period last year when a lot of retailers ran out of pajamas because people were buying things to wear at home that they previously probably didn't need to. Peter, what about there in Australia? Was it the same situation?
Not so much pajamas. Lots of tracksuits I know have been on sale. Again, back to the health and wellness piece. Lots of activity in that area. Again, even I bought some home equipment, couldn't go to the gym. Being in Melbourne, we actually had one of the harshest lockdowns, so we couldn't even leave 5 kilometres from our house. So we needed other means to exercise and keep healthy and fit through the pandemic. The only other thing that we've noticed is that those very big holidays that families take to Europe, Asia, and the US, they couldn't do those. So they were focusing a lot more on big ticket items like a motor vehicle and things like that of that nature.
Ken, let's talk about the omni-channel experience and how important this is for both the business and for the customer experience.
From the consumer's perspective, it's a lot more straightforward. As consumers, you and I, we just expect to have the same experience, whether we shop on the physical store or online store. We expect to have same product, same price points, same return policies. But from the retailers, and I should say also the consumer packaged goods company, who now go direct to consumer through Instagram, for example, food, for example, it's a whole gamut of channels they have to serve. When you say omni-channel, well, it means all channel. So they do have to maintain consistency in terms of their experience they create. Again, the same assortment, same price point, same fulfillment, response time, and same return policy. And this could be either physical store run by themselves or by their franchise partners, or we know we have a whole gamut of e-marketplaces now. Their own brand, private brand e-commerce, as well as D2C through Instagram, etc. So it's not that easy from the business's perspective to still maintain the same shopping experience, fulfillment experiences, given all those different channels they have to serve.
To a point that I think, again, from a personal perspective, it's easier now to shop online because I know that I can filter out what I need instead of spending an hour in the store looking for one particular item.
Very true. Yeah.
So expectations then have changed from a customer's perspective as well.
Very true. The expectation, certainly in terms of convenience, in this pandemic, a lot of people shopping online. To some, it's out of convenience. To others, it's out of necessity. They're just not able to go out.
Right.
Peter mentioned about Melbourne. There's an excellent example there. Now, the expectation, however, now from the business perspective, from consumer side, is that they would have a high expectation in terms of product authenticity. They don't want to buy a Me Too product. They do expect those brands to have sustainable practices in terms of how the product is designed, how it's developed, how it's produced, and certainly how it's being delivered to the final consumer.
So how do you say then can businesses improve on the experience for customers?
That's a good question. There's in the front end, there's a lot of the experiences you can create. And those experiences, however, you can also copy. It can be copied by competitors. In terms of differentiation, better improving consumer experience, I would still think the ability to fulfill the product quickly at the right price point, meaning the right margin from the business perspective, and with the right sustainable practice. If you can balance all those three up, that would be a way to delight the consumer in my view.
So in terms of delivering the good experience to the customers here in Singapore, for example, for delivery-wise, it has evolved so much that you don't have to be at home to pick up or to be there to receive your deliveries anymore. And another thing is when you're returning, they can come and pick up what you have to return instead of you having to send it back physically. So those things have improved. Do you see any more space for them to work on?
I think that will continue to improve. Business would still need to differentiate in terms of those experiences, the back end, as I mentioned, you have just pointed out. You have just read about Singapore government launching new initiative in terms of autonomous vehicle delivery for the last mile. Still in the trial phase, but I'm confident it's going to be deployed nationwide. There's also talk about drone delivery.
Which is very exciting.
Which is exciting. So we talk about remote countryside in terms of medicine. They want to deliver to the countryside. So the drone will certainly step in a gap for the last mile delivery.
Or even delivering it offshore, which is, I think, what they tried.
Exactly.
Onto a ship in Singapore,
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So in terms of competition, there's a lot of room for improvement as well. So how does a company then have a better value proposition for the customer?
It's just ability to, in terms of, first of all, on the front end with shopping experience. So we won't get into that because there's a lot, our clients are aware of that, they're working on that. It's just the ability, in my view, to differentiate still the back end in terms of the sourcing the right product, having the right warehousing, that means the logistic fulfillment, and the final last mile delivery, bringing the convenience at the right price point and without a harmful impact on the environment. Those are the three key areas.
Peter, over there in Australia, do you have the same concerns, the same issues, and the same trials that they've been doing here in Singapore?
We've seen a couple of drones delivering, I think it was a burrito in Canberra, actually. That was an interesting one. That was a while back, though. Other than that, I think Ken hit the nail on the head with regards to convenience. Throughout this whole period of COVID, we just needed more convenience through that period. People are at home, and that just now, and people are used to getting those deliveries pretty much whenever they need to now. So that would somehow need to continue, and it'll always get faster. It'll always get better. And also just mentioning the reverse logistics part where you need to return a product. That also, there's a lot of space for improvement in that area as well. And to really get that customer advocacy to know that when I am returning something, I know exactly what's going to happen next. I see that as a big thing that for improvement. But overall, the key word there is convenience for consumers.
All right, now having all that in mind, let's move on to the disruption that we all went through and how companies can be better prepared for the next disruption if there ever is another one. Peter, how have retail supply chains been disrupted?
Well, supply chain planning, when we look at things, it's a forward-looking process. So as a supply chain planner, you're continuously trying to optimize for the best delivery of goods and services, and usually it's quite predictable. And there are constraints, but nothing like we saw through COVID. So the way they've been disrupted is, I can speak from experience, obviously being in Melbourne, and everybody else, I would say, shopping malls being shut down. There's still lots of product within those stores. They then in various supply chains in retail, converted them into mini fulfillment centers, or even dark stores, they even call them. So delivery drivers were actually still going to the malls to then fulfill those products. So they've been disrupted in a magnitude of ways. When COVID started, lots of product coming in from exporting from China coming into Australia. China shut down, Australia was open. Then China opened up, and then Australia closed its borders as well. So getting the throughput of all that retail and all that product into warehouses, into stores, or even into a consumer's hand was probably the biggest disruption of all. And then add on top of that the government and the policies that are happening with free trade agreements, etc., between different countries. It was just a perfect storm, I would say. There's major disruptions everywhere.
Ken, how can retail businesses then deal with the disruptions in their supply chain?
Yeah, in terms of retail business, they are used to disruption. In terms of be it in a weather impact, strikes and labor force and whatnot, but nothing like what we have seen this past year. Nothing. So I would think in terms of dealing with impact is to make sure you have all the data points that you have. You have loads of data points within a business, outside a business. Make sure you have the right algorithm that can process those information and to give you the prediction that you need to make the right decision.
So for retailers, then how can they prepare for this kind of disruption?
One way to do is in-house, instead of working on what we call the point solution. That means you buy a software for this particular domain, another software for another domain, what we call you platform the business. In other words, you get one single platform that allows collaboration from the sourcing team, from the buying team, logistic team, and fulfillment team, etc. So that everyone will have the same visibility to share the information. That's obviously one way. And part of that, obviously, in terms of logistic fulfillment, is the complexity given the last minute disruption.
Right.
Or even in the case of government adjusting their policies in terms of work from home policies. So all that has an impact. So those are what we call attributes that affect the final outcome. So what you want to have is the right algorithm with the intelligence to factor all those moving pieces, all the puzzle, to help in the right decision making.
So in terms of technology, then you get the right software with the right algorithm. What else is there for them to improve?
I would say the agility. So it'd be nice, like what Peter mentioned about supply chain planning, is to want to predict in the future, way in the future. The longer the future, the better. But I think in terms of mindset right now, it's more like stay agile, be ready to change, be ready to recalibrate. If a particular product category moves really well in Perth versus in Melbourne, you want to have the ability at the back end to fulfill that. You don't want to have too much of one category that you can't sell in Melbourne, and then you have not enough in Perth. So coming back to what we're talking about here, I would say the secret to this is really having access to the right data, first of all, and then staying agile and have the right algorithm in the middle to help in the decision-making process.
Okay, let's throw that back to Peter then, since you're in Australia, it's such a big geographical place. Could you share some of the customer examples there?
Yeah, sure. So with regards to customer examples, like we have various in the supply chain planning and optimization, which stem across various regions, whether it's Europe, USA, Asia, etc. I would just like to quickly add, though, with regards to when making a decision about what technology should a customer or a retailer be considering, the most important thing to ask yourself as an organization or as a retailer, what business problem will this technology solve? Is it going to solve this business process? And if it is going to solve that business process, how? Is it going to make me make decisions faster and better? And can all of my data be unified in one central place? And can I collaborate with other people within that as well? So, and that leads on to a few of the examples that we have with regards to some of the customers. Firstly, starting with a major US retailer who use planning and optimization of all of their fleets. There are approximately 4,000 trucks within that fleet, and they have 5 optimizer runs every second. So if that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider the optimization algorithms and the thousands and sometimes millions of orders that need to be considered, it's a major amount of data and decisions being made, which is just not possible for a single planner to do themselves as well, or even a team of planners. You need that decision support. So that's what the continuous optimization does for that large US retailer. Now, if we jump to Europe, for example, we have Jumbo Supermarket. So they're in the top echelon of supermarkets in the Netherlands. About 650 stores, 500 pickup points, around 32,000 products to choose from. So their primary objective was to lower the costs, like any business, and improve service levels, like every business. So what enabled them to do this was the planning and optimization of the fleet. Again, just like the US retailer as well. And when they came to us, and I mentioned this earlier about the business problem, it really was about understanding what's the business driver. And it really is making sure it's convenient for the consumers, getting groceries delivered to their door, delivered into a convenient place so they can go and pick it up. These are the kinds of things that they're facing, and these are the kinds of business drivers that retailers are really looking at. After all that, the major benefit that they got from it all was not just improved service levels, they also had a major benefit in reducing transport costs between 7 to 12%. So that is a lot of money when you're spending a lot of on your fleet every year. And I'll just give one last example of that's happening in the UK with DHL Express. So they are processing over 1 million orders a day. And through the planning and optimization solutions that we have, they've reduced their mileage by 15%, which means their drivers aren't on the road as much. They're being kept safer as well. They're adhering to their break times as part of the legislation. And their tour durations are less. Because of the route optimization that they have for their vehicles, it's actually supporting them even further. So what that means in all cases that we just spoke about is the sustainability goals as well are being met. Because the tour durations are being less, there's less emissions in the air. They've improved their service quality, and they actually increased the parcel deliveries for a work shift by 25%. So major benefits in supply chain planning and optimization, very related to fleet, but what we just spoke about with the supermarkets as well, and fulfilling those orders, which can come in at any point in time for a delivery today. It's a major benefit for a lot of retailers.
All right, well, there's a lot more to talk about with our experts today. We will take a quick break right here, and we will be back with more. If you have any specific questions in mind as well, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and someone from Dassault Systems will find you the information you need. We'll be right back.
With the world rapidly changing and creating new business challenges, how can organizations determine what the future holds? The increasing complexities and challenges for logistics to provide a customer experience like no other is essential. Powered by the 3D Experience platform, the warehouse of the future enables you to predict the future and secure the present through virtual twin experiences. The virtual twin experience transforms your real-world structures and parametrics into the virtual world, allowing you to collaborate, model, optimize, and perform, effortlessly connecting all the actors within your supply chain strategy. The seamless integration of these combined technologies sits on the 3D Experience platform, enabling sustainable performance throughout the life cycle of your operations. Whether you are designing a new warehouse, enhancing an existing operation, planning your workforce shifts, or managing a truck fleet, optimizing each step of your supply chain is key in consistently achieving high service, quality, and efficiency levels. Collaborative operations is the cornerstone of the 3D Experience platform. And by digitally providing a common understanding to your stakeholders, you enable visibility into, control over, and synchronization across the entire enterprise. Modeling is the starting point of digitalization. The 3D Experience platform's modeling capabilities are seamlessly integrated, allowing for accurate representations of your IIoT data and operational activities. Optimization is a result of the virtual twin experience that enables agile decision support in trialing and implementing virtual changes to improve efficiency and reduce bottlenecks. Planners and management must always consider different constraints, policies, rules, and regulations, which are difficult to evaluate in a short time frame. This is where optimization provides real decision support in making logistics operations more agile. Achieve performance through the virtual twin experience, the real-world implementation of optimized processes and procedures simulated within the virtual twin. The 3D Experience platform leverages all your data, information, and know-how to optimize and improve your lean logistics operations without interruption. Become a genuinely lean, agile, and resilient business today and begin your transformation towards the warehouse of the future. Contact us today.
Welcome back to Industry Insider with Dassault Systems. We've been talking about how data insights can improve your business relationship with your customers. Now, how can this data be put to better use for sustainability goals? We're going to talk about that as well. With me now are Peter Ristevski, Industry Process Consultant, Infrastructure at Dassault Systems Asia Pacific South, joining us in Melbourne. And in the studio with me is Ken Chu-Tan, CPG Retail Industry Business Consultant, Dassault Systems. Welcome back again, gentlemen. Peter, let's start with you. How can organizations and, business groups as well use legacy data?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tim. So what they can do is take in both of their key sources of data. So it comes from IT sources. That includes the ERPs, CRMs, and all the way through to logistics with WMS systems, etc. And also the operational sources as well, which is the IoT sensor data, any other information and documentation, etc., and proprietary systems with those old AS400s, and bring all that data into a single unified platform that avoids duplication and allows you to make decisions faster and better based on the outcomes that you have, and predict the future a lot better for your demand and also for your customers.
So in a warehouse setting then, Peter, how can data be better utilized for a smoother operation?
Sure. Well, from a warehouse perspective, what we're really looking at is making sure that we have the right people for the right task at the right time, and matching those people to pieces of equipment as well. So the way they can better utilize their data is by ensuring that all of their systems are connected together with regards to their WMS, TMS, and other rostering solutions that can support the actual activities within the warehouse, but also understand the level of detail that the skills of the employees have, and the certifications and the various legislations and other constraints that can support the warehouse activities that happen to improve the flow and throughput.
Can this data then be used, Peter, for managing social distancing for the workforce?
Absolutely. So there's three key pieces of technology that you can really make use of with that data. And one is workforce optimization. So that is really focused on using machine learning and algorithms based on the demand that you have coming up over the next few days, weeks, or you can even do it months ahead, but I know it probably might be weeks from a warehouse perspective at most. So they can start to really understand how much demand is coming through, what equipment availability is there, and are we meeting all the requirements of the employees and their agreements, and those other specifics around that. And the flow simulation is about physical assets, so changing the flow of and the structure of a packing area, for example, where you might have 9 people, but you need to really reduce that because you're actually breaching those social distancing requirements. So you can actually use flow simulation to actually improve the throughput and test this virtually before making any real physical costly changes. And the third one I would say is computer vision, which is an AI technology that if you've seen it, it's those green boxes where it can outline if someone is going too close or if they're actually at a safe distance, or a red box around those 2 people saying that they're breaching the social distancing rules. And that can also be explored further with the requirement of people being so close to pieces of equipment for unloading a truck or being too close to a forklift while it's moving as well.
Peter, this is easier in a work environment, but when the public is involved in a retail space, then how can this be used for social distancing, and how will it affect productivity of retailers as well?
Well, from that perspective, especially from a workforce optimization level, you get to understand how many people you may need. If you have that data based on how many people you have coming through your doors, you can now better plan ahead how many people you may need for that specific shift. And you can also have and manage those disruptions as well through the day with workforce optimization. Computer vision AI, depending on which country, might be ready for that. And flow simulation will allow retailers to actually reconfigure areas based on the different breaches that they may be occurring in the specific areas.
Ken, for a place like us here in this part of the world where space is limited, retail space is limited, is this more of a challenge?
It's a huge challenge. In terms of the questions about productivity, there's a negative correlation in terms of implementing all these measures. We're talking about you can serve fewer customers or consume at the same time. Mm-hmm. You have to reposition some of your staff to the front end, checking temperature, looking at the apps being scanned in. So in terms of how we measure productivity, we look at sales or revenue per square foot. With that metric, certainly there's a negative impact in terms of productivity. But what Peter pointed out earlier, those are good measures that could certainly help mitigate in terms of a negative impact.
Okay. Yeah. Peter, how can modeling the supply chain help improve operations?
There's a multitude of benefits with that, Tim. At a macro level, what we're looking at is all the data inputs for the supply chain, from sourcing of raw materials all the way through to getting goods on a truck. You can model all that with all the constraints and the capacities at production plants, etc., and warehouses, and you can put all that into a supply chain model, and then you can start to test different scenarios for any changes you want to make or any new model you want to actually make part of that as well.
So with that said, Peter, how can organizations then bring all of this together, tie it all together, modeling, collaboration, optimization of the operations for better overall performance?
Well, the way I see it is that the goal would be to bring all that together into one unified platform. Now, when I talk about unification, I mean it in 2 ways. You have a unified user interface. All stakeholders, whether you're internal or even an external contractor, supporting and collaborating within a single platform and one common way of working. And 2, unifying all of that data. This will avoid the duplication of data going through different systems, different data warehouses, and it'll start to foster an organizational shift to explore data in a new way, but also start to have new ideas and how you can better serve the customers and specifically consumers in future.
Okay, one last thing I want to bring up before we end today's show is about sustainability practices. Ken, let's start with you. How can retailers build better sustainability practices, and how will this be better for their operations?
I think in terms of having sustainability you have to build into the business model. You know, it cannot be just a good intent. It's got to be baked into the business model itself, meaning you have to, even at top executive level, their compensation need to be tied to that in terms of how they design the product, in terms of key metrics, KPI, how the product developed, design, raw material being sourced, supply chain, shipment, inbound, outbound optimization. There are different metrics in different domains. You need to bundle it all together and bake into business plan itself, business model.
And what about for you there in Australia, Peter? Is it pretty much the same sentiment when it comes to sustainability?
Definitely, Tim. The first step in creating sustainable goals is having sustainability as part of your strategy. So ensuring that you have all those goals and all those practices from the top down and the bottom up, and everyone is exploring new ways to make a more efficient supply chain by using better products, more sustainable packaging along those lines. And working for Dassault Systèmes, we're very big on that as well. My first day was I walked in with a coffee cup, and lots of those go to landfill. And if you're talking about me specifically, that's about 200 cups a year. And what that could mean is that what I was told is that, hey, we're trying to reduce our footprint. So here's your keep cup on my first day. So that was an immediate impact on me, was to say that we are moving forward in a sustainable way. So it has to be part of the strategy for the organization.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts and your insights with us today. Peter Ristevski is Industry Process Consultant Infrastructure at Dassault Systèmes Asia Pacific. He is joining us from Melbourne. And Ken Chu Tan, CPG Retail Industry Business Consultant at Dassault Systèmes. So are you ready to give your customers a delightful shopping experience? That's all on today's show. If you have any clarifications on what we talk about, do leave your questions on the comments section and we will get the right person to respond to you. Well, that's it for me. I'm Timothy Goh. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Industry Insider with Dassault Systèmes.